The moment you wake up, something is already trying to control you. Not your boss. Not your family. Not even your problems. Your mind. Before your feet touch the ground, before your eyes fully open, there's a voice. It starts whispering. Doubt. Fear. Laziness. Excuses. And if you don't take control right there, in that quiet moment, your entire day is already lost. This is why you must listen every morning. Not to noise. Not to distractions. But to something deeper. Something sharper. Something that reminds you who you are supposed to be. Because most people wake up weak. They reach for their phones. They scroll. They compare. They consume. And slowly, without realizing it, they hand over their power. Their focus is gone before the day even begins. But you're different. You're here because something inside you refuses to stay average. Every morning is a battlefield. And the first battle is in your mind. When you wake up, don't rush. Don't panic. Sit in silence for a moment. Feel the weight of your life. The responsibility. The opportunity. Remind yourself, no one is coming to save you. That pressure you feel? That's not fear. That's potential waiting to be used. Listen carefully in the morning, because that's when the truth is loudest. The truth that you've been avoiding. The truth that says you can do more. Be more. Become more. But only if you stop running from discomfort. Most people want success, but they hate discipline. They want results, but they avoid the process. They want respect, but they refuse to earn it. And that's why they stay stuck. But not you. When you wake up, you train your mind. You don't negotiate with weakness. You don't argue with excuses. You act. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because discipline is built in those moments. The quiet moments. The unseen moments. The moments where nobody is watching, but everything is being decided. This is where your future is shaped. Right there, in the morning. So listen. Listen to the voice that tells you to get up when it's hard. Listen to the part of you that demands more. Feed that voice. Strengthen it. Because the more you listen to it, the louder it becomes. And one day, it will drown out every doubt you've ever had. Imagine waking up with purpose. With clarity. With control. No confusion. No hesitation. Just direction. That's power. And it starts with how you begin your day. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up. Wake up with intention. Wake up with discipline. Wake up ready to take control of your life. Because if you don't control your morning will control you. And if you got value from this, good, because this is the part most people skip. And it's exactly where change either becomes real or disappears. Let's continue. Every morning when you wake up, there is something you cannot see, but you can feel. A tension. A pull. One side is pulling you into comfort. The other side is pulling you into discipline. Comfort says, stay where it's easy. Discipline says, build what is difficult now so your life becomes easier later. And every single morning, you choose between those two voices. Not once. Not occasionally. Every day. And here is what most people never understand. Your life is not shaped by what you intend to do. Your life is shaped by what you consistently allow. So if you allow distraction in the morning, you are allowing distraction in your future. If you allow laziness in the morning, you are allowing stagnation in your future. If you allow clarity in the morning, you are allowing direction in your future. It is that simple, and that serious. Now listen closely. There is a reason your mind feels different in the morning compared to later in the day. In the morning, your mind is still clean. Before opinions. Before stress. Before the world enters. That is your most powerful state. But most people waste it within minutes. They wake up and immediately fill it with other people's lives. Other people's opinions. Other people's problems. And then they wonder why their own life feels unclear. You cannot build clarity from consuming confusion. You cannot build focus from consuming distraction. And you cannot build strength from consuming weakness. So the first step of your transformation is not doing more. It is consuming less. Especially in the morning. Now I want you to imagine something deeply. Imagine waking up and treating your mind like something sacred. Like something valuable. Like something you refuse to contaminate early. No noise. No rushing. No emotional reactions. Just awareness. Just presence. Just you and your thoughts in silence. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Because silence exposes what distraction hides. But if you stay with it long enough, something changes. Your mind begins to slow down. Your thoughts begin to organize. Your emotions begin to stabilize. And suddenly, you are not reacting to life anymore. You are responding to it. That is power. Now let's go even deeper. There is a hidden enemy most people never notice. It is not failure. It is not rejection. It is not even struggle. It is inconsistency in the small things. Because big results are just small habits repeated long enough to matter. And your mornings are the foundation of those habits. So when you ignore your morning discipline, you are not just losing a morning. You are weakening your identity. Because identity is not what you say. It is what you repeatedly do. Now hear this clearly. You do not become disciplined by reading about discipline. You become disciplined by acting when it is inconvenient. Especially in the morning. Especially when no one is watching. Especially when your mind is trying to pull you back into comfort. That is where real change happens. Not in motivation. Not in inspiration. But in repetition. Now I want to speak directly to your future self for a moment. The version of you that is either going to thank you or regret you. That version of you is being created right now. Not later. Right now. Every morning you ignore discipline, you delay that better version. Every morning you choose discipline, you build that better version. And one day, you will meet that version of yourself in your results. In your confidence. In your peace. In your discipline, or in your regret, and you will know exactly how you got there. Now listen carefully. This is not about perfection. You will not always get it right. Some mornings will be harder than others. Some days your mind will resist you more than usual. But what matters is not perfection. What matters is direction. Are you generally moving toward control, or away from it? Because direction determines destiny. Now I want you to understand something very important. You are not your past mornings. You are not your past habits. You are not your past failures. You are the decisions you start making from today. That is freedom. But freedom without discipline becomes chaos. So you must pair freedom with structure. And your structure begins in the morning. Now if you truly want to change your life, here is a simple but powerful truth. Do not try to fix everything. Fix your mornings first. Because when your mornings change, your thinking changes. When your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your life changes. It always starts there. Now I want you to imagine something powerful again. You wake up tomorrow. You do not reach for your phone. You sit up slowly. You breathe. You feel the quiet. You do not rush to escape your thoughts. You observe them. And for a few moments, you are completely present. No comparison. No pressure. No noise. Just clarity. And in that moment, something powerful happens. You realize you are in control. Not the world. Not your emotions. Not your distractions. You. That realization alone can shift the direction of your entire life. Now let's bring this home. If you have been watching this far, it means something in you is ready for change. Not temporary motivation, but real discipline, real awareness, real transformation. And if that is true, then do not waste this moment. Because most people will hear this and forget it in a few hours. But a few people will apply it immediately. And those few people will slowly separate themselves from the life they used to live. Not overnight, but over time. Now before you leave this, understand this clearly. Your mornings are not just routines. They are decisions about who you are becoming. And every decision compounds. So choose carefully. And choose consistently. And if you want to stay on this path of discipline, awareness, and mental strength, then stay connected to this channel. Because here, we don't just talk about motivation. We talk about transformation. But only for those who are willing to apply it. So if you are serious about changing your life starting from your mornings, let's go further. Because this is where most people either wake up mentally, or fall back into sleep without realizing it. Every morning when you wake up, there is a moment that happens before thought fully kicks in. A quiet gap. A small space where you are not yet fully attached to stress, fear, or distraction. That space is powerful. Because in that space, you are still free. But most people don't stay there long enough to notice it. They rush out of it. Straight into noise. Straight into habit. Straight into the same patterns that created yesterday. And that is why their life feels like a loop. Same thoughts. Same emotions. Same problems. Just different days. But you are learning something different now. You are learning that the morning is not just a beginning. It is a direction. And direction repeated becomes destiny. Now listen closely. The mind is extremely suggestible in the morning. That means whatever you expose it to first, it accepts more deeply than anything later in the day. So if the first thing you consume is chaos, your mind absorbs chaos. If the first thing you consume is comparison, your mind builds insecurity. If the first thing you consume is distraction, your attention becomes scattered for hours. But if the first thing you consume is silence, discipline, and intention, your entire day begins with strength. This is why your morning is not something to waste. It is something to design. Now let's go deeper into something most people never question. Why do you wake up the way you do? Not physically, but mentally. Why is your first instinct to reach for your phone? Why is your first thought often stress, pressure, or delay? It didn't happen randomly. It was trained. And anything that was trained can be untrained. That is the good news. You are not stuck with your current morning habits forever. You can rewrite them. But only if you interrupt them. Because change does not begin with adding something new. It begins with stopping something old. Now imagine this version of you. You wake up and you do not move immediately into distraction. Instead, you stay still for a moment. You feel your breathing. You become aware of your surroundings. And instead of reacting to life instantly, you observe it. That one small pause changes everything. Because in that pause, you are no longer reacting. You are choosing. And choice is where power lives. Most people lose power in the morning because they never choose anything consciously. They just react. And reaction is not control. Reaction is surrender. So from now on, your goal is simple. Reduce reaction. Increase intention. Now let's go even deeper. There is a version of you that does not need constant stimulation. A version of you that is comfortable with silence. A version of you that can sit alone with thoughts without escaping them. That version is not rare. It is just undeveloped. Because the modern world trains people to avoid silence. To avoid discomfort. To avoid thinking too deeply. But growth only happens in the opposite direction. Growth happens when you stay where it is uncomfortable long enough to understand it. So in the morning, instead of escaping your mind, you observe it. Instead of running from thoughts, you watch them. And slowly, something changes. You stop being controlled by your mind. And you start becoming the one who directs it. Now listen carefully. This is where discipline becomes identity. At first, discipline feels like effort. You force yourself to do things. You resist habits. You push through discomfort. But over time, something shifts. Discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like who you are. And when discipline becomes identity, your mornings change permanently. Because you no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "Is this who I am?" And that question is far more powerful. Now I want to remind you of something important. You are not trying to become a different person. You are removing the habits that are hiding the real you. Because underneath distraction, underneath laziness, underneath inconsistency, there is a focused version of you waiting. But it only appears when you stop feeding the noise. Now let's bring this deeper into reality. Tomorrow morning will come the same way it always does. Quiet. Simple. Ordinary. But what will be different is not the morning. It will be you. Because you will remember this moment. You will remember that you have a choice before you touch anything. Before you react. Before you escape. And in that moment, you will either go back to old habits or step into a new pattern. And that small decision will quietly shape your future. Now I want you to understand something clearly. Big change does not feel big at the beginning. It feels small, almost invisible. But repeated consistently, it becomes undeniable. So do not underestimate small morning decisions. They are not small in effect. They are only small in appearance. Now before we close this part, hear this deeply. You do not need a perfect morning routine. You need an intentional one. Even if it is simple. Even if it is just sitting in silence for a few minutes. Even if it is just delaying your phone. Even if it is just becoming aware before reacting. That is enough to start. Because once awareness enters your morning, everything else begins to shift. Now if this message is reaching you at the right time, don't ignore it like something you simply watched. Let it become something you apply. Because information without action is just entertainment. But information with action becomes transformation. And if you want to continue building this mindset of discipline, clarity, and mental control, then stay connected to this channel. Because here, you are not just watching content. You are training your mind. Listen carefully. Because what you hear in the first few seconds of your morning might be the difference between a life that stays stuck and a life that finally changes. Not your phone notifications. Not social media. Not the opinions of people who are also confused about their own lives. But this. What you are about to hear is not motivation. It is not entertainment. It is a reset for your mind. Because every morning when you wake up, you are handed something dangerous. A fresh start. And most people waste it without even realizing it. They wake up and immediately reach for distractions. They scroll. They compare. They worry. They react. And before their feet even touch the floor, their mind is already owned by the world. But there is a different kind of person. A rare one. The kind who understands that the first moments of the morning are not for the world. They are for the mind. And if you are hearing this right now, it's not by accident. It's because something in you already knows. Your mornings have been controlling you, instead of you controlling them. So today, we fix that. Because from this moment forward, every time you wake up, you are going to listen to something different. Not noise. Not chaos. But truth. And truth is uncomfortable before it is powerful. Let's begin. Every morning when you wake up, the first battle you fight is not outside of you. It is inside of you. It is the battle between discipline and comfort. Between clarity and distraction. Between purpose and laziness pretending to be rest. And the first decision you make sets the tone for everything that follows. Most people lose this battle without even knowing they are in it. They open their eyes and immediately surrender their attention. But not you. Not anymore. Because starting today, when you wake up, you are going to remember one thing. Your life is shaped in the first hour of your morning more than most people are willing to admit. Think about it. What happens when you wake up and immediately consume negativity? Your mind becomes reactive. What happens when you wake up and immediately think about problems? Your body becomes stressed before the day even begins. What happens when you wake up and reach for your phone? You give control of your attention to someone else's agenda. And once your attention is gone, your life follows it. So let this be clear. The most valuable thing you own is not money. It is not time. It is not even energy. It is attention. And every morning, you either protect it or you give it away. Now listen closely. There is a version of you that already exists. A stronger version. A calmer version. A more focused version. A version that doesn't react to everything. A version that doesn't chase validation. A version that doesn't waste energy on meaningless noise. That version of you is not created in one moment of inspiration. It is built in repetition. In the way you wake up. In the way you think. In the way you respond to silence before the world enters your mind. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, do not rush. Do not escape into distraction. Instead, do something very few people ever do. Stay still. Because in that stillness, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to reset. And in that reset, you regain control. Most people fear silence in the morning because silence forces them to hear their own thoughts. But that is exactly where transformation begins. Because if you cannot sit with your own thoughts for even a few minutes in the morning, then the world will think for you all day. And that is how people lose themselves without noticing. Now let's go deeper. Every morning when you wake up, your mind is like a blank space. And whatever you place into it first becomes the foundation for the entire day. If the first thing you place into your mind is fear, your day will be shaped by fear. If the first thing you place is comparison, your day will be shaped by insecurity. If the first thing you place is discipline, your day will be shaped by control. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been feeding your mind first thing in the morning? Because that one habit alone is silently building or destroying your future. There is a reason why successful people are protective of their mornings. It is not because they are special. It is because they understand something simple. The morning is when the mind is most impressionable. It is when you are most vulnerable. And it is when you are most capable of shaping your entire day. Now imagine this. You wake up. No phone. No noise. No rush. Just awareness. You sit up slowly. You breathe. You let your mind settle. And instead of asking the world what it wants from you, you ask yourself a different question. What kind of person do I choose to be today? Not what do I feel like. Not what is easy. But what kind of person do I choose to be? Because your life does not change when your circumstances change. Your life changes when your identity changes. And your identity is reinforced every morning. Let's talk about something most people ignore. Discipline is not built in big moments. It is built in small morning decisions that nobody sees. Waking up when you said you would wake up. Not reaching for your phone immediately. Sitting in discomfort instead of escaping it. Thinking before reacting. Choosing direction over distraction. These are small things. But they are not small in impact. Because what you do in the morning is a vote for the kind of life you are building. And most people are voting for chaos without realizing it. Now listen carefully. There is a trap many people fall into. They believe motivation will save them. They wait for inspiration before they act. But motivation is unstable. It comes and goes like weather. Discipline is different. Discipline is what remains when motivation disappears. And your mornings are where discipline is trained. Not once, but daily. So when you wake up, do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to feel inspired. Start anyway. Because action creates clarity. Not the other way around. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up every morning with complete control over your mind. No anxiety pulling you. No distractions controlling you. No emotional chaos deciding your direction. Just calm focus. Just intention. Just clarity. That is not a fantasy. That is a trained mind. And it is available to anyone willing to stop surrendering their mornings. Most people underestimate how much damage they allow in the first 30 minutes of their day. A single scroll can shift their mood. A single message can change their focus. A single comparison can destroy their confidence. And they carry that energy for the rest of the day. But you are not going to live like that anymore. Because starting now, you are going to understand something important. If you do not direct your morning, something else will. And the world is always ready to take your attention. So protect it like it is your most valuable asset. Because it is. Now let's go deeper into something real. There will be mornings when you don't feel strong. There will be mornings when you feel tired. There will be mornings when your mind tries to convince you to delay everything. And that is exactly when your power is tested. Not when things are easy, but when nothing feels like it should be done. Because anyone can be disciplined when they feel good. But real discipline shows up when you don't feel like it at all. And you still choose to act. That is where strength is built. That is where identity is formed. That is where change becomes real. So if you are waiting for perfect conditions, stop. They do not exist. If you are waiting for the perfect mood, stop. It will not come consistently. What will always come is the morning. And in that morning, you either lead yourself or lose yourself. Now let me tell you something important. Your future is not decided in one big moment. It is decided in repeated small mornings where you choose differently. One morning at a time. One decision at a time. One act of discipline at a time. And slowly, without noise, your life begins to shift. You become more focused, more stable, more aware, more intentional. And people around you will not understand why. They will think something changed overnight. But you will know the truth. It was the mornings. Now before we continue, understand this. If this message is reaching you at the right time in your life, do not ignore it. Because most people hear things like this and still go back to their old habits. But a few people listen. A few people apply. And those few people change everything. So if you are still here, it means something in you is ready. And if you are ready, then act like it. Starting tomorrow morning, you will wake up differently. Not rushed. Not distracted. But aware. And intentional. You will give yourself a few minutes before the world enters your mind. You will choose your thoughts instead of absorbing them. And you will remember that your life is being shaped in silence long before the world sees it. Because every morning when you wake up, you are not just starting a day. You are continuing a direction. And the direction you choose in the morning is the direction your life follows. So choose carefully. And if you found value in this, stay connected to this channel. Because what you are building here is not just information. It is transformation. And the next time you wake up, remember this. Do not let the world speak first. Speak to yourself first. Because the first voice you listen to in the morning shapes everything that follows. And now, continue this message in a way most people never hear. Because what comes next is where real change either begins or gets ignored. Every morning when you wake up, there is a silent question your life is asking you. It is not spoken out loud, but it is always there. What will you become today? And the answer is not found in words. It is found in action. Most people think their future is decided by big opportunities. But in reality, your future is decided by small, repeated choices that happen when no one is watching. The way you wake up. The way you think before touching your phone. The way you respond to discomfort. The way you handle silence. These things look small, but they are quietly building the person you are becoming. And here is something most people don't realize. You are always becoming someone. Even when you are doing nothing. Even when you are delaying change. Even when you are staying the same. Time is still shaping you. The only question is, into who? Now listen carefully. If your mornings are chaotic, your life will be chaotic. If your mornings are unfocused, your mind will be unfocused. If your mornings are controlled by distraction, your entire day will belong to distraction. There is no exception to this pattern. So if you want to change your life, you don't start with the whole life. You start with the morning. Because the morning is where direction is set. And direction is everything. Now imagine something powerful. Imagine waking up and not reacting. No panic. No rushing. No immediate escape into noise. Instead, you sit with yourself. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Even if your thoughts are loud. You stay still. And in that stillness, something begins to change. Your mind stops running away. Your awareness becomes stronger. And slowly, you begin to realize something important. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And that realization alone gives you power most people never develop. Because most people are controlled by whatever they think first in the morning. But you are learning to watch your thoughts before obeying them. That is freedom. Now let's go deeper again. There is a version of you that wakes up early. Not because someone forces you, but because you understand your future is built in quiet hours. That version of you does not negotiate with laziness. That version of you does not argue with excuses. That version of you understands something simple. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is protection. It protects your future from your current mood. And every morning, you either protect your future or you weaken it. There is no neutral ground. Now I want you to understand something very clearly. The world is not waiting for you to become focused. The world is actively trying to take your focus away. Every notification, every distraction, every unnecessary comparison, every scroll. It is all designed to fragment your attention. And a fragmented mind cannot build a strong life. So if you do not take control of your morning, you are giving permission for everything else to control you. And that is why so many people feel lost without knowing why. It is not because they are incapable. It is because they are constantly distracted before they even begin. Now listen closely. You are not behind in life because you lack talent. You are not stuck because you are unlucky. In most cases, people are stuck because their daily habits are not aligned with their goals. And the biggest hidden habit is how they start their morning. So if you want a different life, you need a different morning. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. But now. Starting tomorrow morning, you make a decision. You do not reach for your phone first. You do not consume noise first. You do not let the world enter your mind before you enter your own mind. You take control first. Even if it is just for a few minutes. Because those few minutes are where your identity is shaped. Now let's be honest. This will not feel easy at first. Your mind will resist it. Your habits will pull you back. Your comfort will whisper to you, just check your phone for a second. Just stay a little longer in bed. Just start later. But understand this clearly. Every time you obey that voice, you weaken your discipline. And every time you resist it, you strengthen your life. So the real battle is not outside. It is inside your morning decisions. Now let's go deeper into truth. The most successful people are not superhuman. They simply protect their attention in ways most people do not. They understand that the first hour of the day is not for reacting. It is for building direction. They think before they consume. They plan before they engage. They focus before they react. And that difference compounds over time. Because life does not change instantly. It changes through accumulation. And mornings are where that accumulation begins. Now, if you are still listening, understand this moment. This is not just information anymore. This is a turning point. Because many people will hear something like this and do nothing. They will feel inspired for a moment, and then return to the same cycle. But a few people will actually change. A few people will take control of their mornings. And those few people will slowly separate themselves from everyone else. Not through luck. Not through shortcuts. But through discipline and silence. Now I want to speak directly to you. If you are serious about changing your mindset, your focus, your discipline, and your life, then you cannot do it alone without the right influence. That is why this channel exists. To remind you daily that your life is shaped in moments most people ignore. So if this message made sense to you, if something in you is waking up right now, don't ignore it. Subscribe to this channel. Not as a casual action, but as a commitment to your own growth. Because every time you return here, you are reminding yourself that you are choosing awareness over distraction. And that matters more than you think. Like this video if you understand that your mornings control your life more than anything else. Share it with someone who needs to wake up mentally. And comment below what time you usually wake up, because your mornings are telling a story about your life right now. And that story can change. But only if you decide to change how it begins. So from tomorrow morning, remember this one final truth. Before the world speaks to you, you speak to yourself. Before distraction finds you, you choose direction. And before life pulls you into chaos, you choose clarity. Because every morning when you wake up, You are not just starting a day.